Welcome back to 23 Foils, everyone. This is your host, John. Here we have the Dragon's Den semi-finalist match between myself and another opponent. They are on blue-red item deck, so I was mulliganing hard for the coveted Chernobog Flynn Sisu Castle start. Alas, I did not find that, so here I am on a secondary game plan, doing my best with what I have, hoping that he doesn't have a hand that is superior. Keeping in mind he already does have a Fortisphere out, so that means stuff like Maui and Dragon and Tamatoa can utilize that immediately to kill a castle when it's out, so kind of ever looming danger in that regard. Alright, here we see it taking me all the way to turn 3 to finally get some pressure out on the board. Kind of set up my game plan and what I think needs to happen. I did ink a Brawl, and that is because I have a backup plan for whatever he throws out next. And he elects for a Sisu to challenge mine, and he's kind of a funny, lighthearted player, so he always utilizes his ice block, whether it's doing something or not, which I get a kick out of. There we see the King Undisputed and starting to quest hard. One last ice block trigger before he draws his cards. Here we have me just questing hard. I know there's nothing else I'd rather do at the start of every turn. And here we go with the castle threat. Granted, this is kind of a risk. He's in Maui range. So right now, if he plays a Maui, he can swing with that and the Flavor Sham, and that would put me in a big problem. Thankfully, he did not have that answer. So I'm going to be able to keep questing hard, establishing board presence. He also managed to get his Maurice's Workshop online, so he has great options for card draw. My only option really is to keep on the gas, try to go wide, establish as much board and lore gain as humanly possible. Obviously, above all else, always prioritizing getting rid of Flavor Sham. And again, I am hard casting Friends. The most valuable thing to me right now is gaining lore. To sing Friends on the other side with Sisu right now would be a gigantic mistake. You could say, oh, well, what if you find another Sisu and play it? It doesn't really matter. He's kind of in B-King range. I need that guaranteed lore any chance I can get it. We see a Great Stone Dragon coming in, really gonna accelerate his ramping game. Unfortunately, having to ink that Tamatoa, looks like it was one other inkable card shy from being able to play that following turn. I think that ended him at 7 ink. So if he didn't play it, he could maybe hope to draw another inkable next turn, but Great Stone Dragon would ink something and it would be exerted, so unfortunately he was in a kind of a hard position. Here he notifies me that he didn't upright and then exhaust Stone Dragon, but he still utilized it, which is totally fine. I'm not that picky on people, and be prepared coming through. But still sitting in a really good spot with the castle out. Here I go with a very strong counter move, putting a goat on the board for that instant lore gain, and then as well as a Flynn. If he doesn't have something with Force Strength to answer it, this is a crippling amount of lore return. Here we see what we talked about earlier, playing a Tamatoa, recovering an item. He still has that Fortisphere out there, and wham, same turn, castle's gone. There goes 90% of my pressure I had. But I answer right back with a B King, kind of shutting off his engine, busting for 2 more, putting me in a fatal position right here. We see a great play by him, playing the big Sisu, knocking out half my questers, and it's something that threatens Go. If I were to turn it sideways, I'd almost need to guarantee having a bounce. Playing another Goat, questing for 1, gaining 2 lore no matter what next turn he decides to scoop. Alright guys, here we go, start of round 2. Opens with a Queen, which, I don't know, I think it's kind of a questionable choice in that deck list. I know its purpose, I know why it's there. He does have a lot of hit possibilities for items, but I just feel like it doesn't do enough for the deck. It's not substantial enough of a body. Yet again, we see I missed the Chernobog and Flynn in the mulligan and opening hand. Really rough situation for me. Here we see he was 1 popsicle away from the Shamiri line. And here we go, going back out with the turn 3 Sisu, putting up that big pressure. Go Sisu of his own, really helping contest. And I just know no matter what I do, I gotta go sideways. Gotta get that lore. Chernobog a bit too late. Here we see him pulling off the Flavor Sham, which I have to answer immediately, or else I'm going to be in a hard spot. Also very odd of him to not trade his Sisu for mine. I'm able to brawl away his Huron. Also getting that value friend singing in with Rabbit. I'm okay with giving up the 1 lore. Granted, with how much ink I have available this time. And here we go, finally trading for Sisu. Medusa to answer my Rabbit. This tells me he doesn't really have a lot of great options in his hand, and he just doesn't want me being able to generate lots of counters to him. Here we had follow up with another Flynn and Sisu. Very strong position. he's able to get his Maurice's workshop online. Represents him being able to have a lot of draw power. They were discussing whether or not my Flynn pops off, and it does not. I think he only had 3 in hand, making Medusa and Sisu tie. Coming down with a goat. So this way, if he decides to trade in his Medusa for my Sisu, I still have the biggest body. Goat also being a very safe choice if he determines that Be Prepared is his best play, still getting that guaranteed 2 lore, just inching me ever closer to the finish line. Here we see the big Sisu coming through. Quite the issue. Here we just see I decided to go wide and replenish my hand, kind of putting him in a tough spot. Either he has another big Sisu or a Be Prepared, but either way I'm getting my lore and my card value. Got to trade big Sisu for goat and followed up with another Sisu clearing my board, but still a win for me. He's not progressing his end game. He doesn't have a dime to gain that 3 lore, and I'm still generating hand size and lore passively. Here we see me digging for a little bit of better options. While still putting up a decent amount of questing bodies. Here we see him getting that Great Stone Dragon in and being able to utilize one of the workshops to draw more cards. He's starting to be in a very scary position if he finds a dime or a Tamatoa. So that means I just need to race. Decided to play out a castle, just try to diversify everything as much as I can, making him use the Fortisphere into the castle, kind of hedging my bets. Either I'm going to gain 4 lore from characters, or I'm going to gain 2 lore from the castle, depending on what he opts to do. Trying to safely hedge my bets to climb as fast as I can on that lore ladder. Here we see the damn Medusa play on my Sisu, as he only had 1 card left in hand, making it a 2 attack body. Really great plays from him. Effectively made me lose 4 lore this upcoming turn with his very cost effective Fortisphere and Medusa plays. dig for those answers, getting what little lore I can. Now we see the be prepared. I'm at 15, not too far from the finish line. I gotta hope for some goats or bounces to be able to close it out. And here we see a very, very dangerous combo, digging for item, playing the item, being able to utilize the other Maurice's workshops to draw more items and just keep that engine going. Maurice's workshop is really strong too. It's not even once per turn, it's anytime he plays an item, he can pay one to draw a card, which is just insane. I think despite all my card draw, I still don't have very good options for trying to climb. I don't think I found goats or bounces. Decided to peek through his discard, see what sort of options he has still left in his deck. Here we see a Maui and double Flynn play. Really hoping he doesn't have anything with more than 6 attack, because that's lethal on board if he can't answer it. And unfortunately, he decides to play out a Maui, shutting down my Maui, making my Flynn's nothing more than 2 questing bodies, leaving me no choice but to just kind of quest it out for that. I misspoke earlier. This is actually where I'm going to go to 15. I was still in goat range earlier at 13 lore, but utilizing a fox to bounce back one of my Flynn's, trying to protect one of my questers by leaving the fox upright, leaving only 1 Flynn exerted for his Maui to attack into, allowing my Maui to trade if he opts for that, and replay the other Flynn to get that proc going again for that bonus 3 lore, if I have an option to counter with that. Here we have him digging hard with his Maurice's workshops. That's 3 of them, allowing him to pay 1 to draw 3. Gonna quest for a big one and burn it all down with a B prep. So here we're sitting 5 and 15. I'm so close to the finish line, but I really need to find those goats and bounces, or maybe even a castle to follow up his be prepared. But I know at this stage of the game, all he has to do is draw that Tamatoa. I also mentioned to him, hey, I'm not really sure what all is going on with your item. It's kind of a messy pile. Hey, you kind of clean it up just so I know exactly what you're working with and how many. Here we see me going for that backup plan again. Maui Flynn, hoping he doesn't have anything to shut it off. It would allow me to proc for 3, quest for 1 more with the body, go to 19, and just pray I find a goat. But unfortunately, he does have the answer. He's able to dime, get that first 2 lore off of that, taking him to 7. Now I know I'm really in danger. He might even be in range now where all he has to do is play a Tamatoa and dime it. I'm toast. With my limited options, I'm playing whatever I can just to put a presence out on the board and be able to quest. Two stone dragons put in work for him. Here we see him counting up his items. He's trying to make sure if he plays a Tamatoa, he can clinch it up, or if he needs to quest. And here we have him quest for 2. Taking him to 9, and then burning it all down, effectively locking me out from the win. Looks like I'm down to just 2 or 3 cards in hand, and we already know none of them are goat, else I wouldn't bother bouncing back that Maui. We see him doing what he does best, cycling hard with those Maurice's workshops, drawing, having plenty of card advantage to be able to ink. I essentially have to win this turn. Here we see I finally managed to find a goat for the 16, but I think it's too little, way too late. And here we go. See him counting up, making sure he has that 8. Checking for which item he wants to recover to hand. Tamatoa flashing the 2 additional items in hand, allowing us to count up how many items he has, and that is game over. Neither of us are going to make him do the little bit of counting we need. On to game 3. Alright, here we go, guys, into game 3, putting me back on the play. And for the first time, I have a 1-drop. Things are looking pretty good for Team 23 Foils. Strong deliberation for him on his opener. Let me see, I decided to quest and pop, telling me that my inkable options in hand are not good. Otherwise, there's no reason why I would ever remove it from the board to keep questing. That means I am struggling to either have inkables, or more likely than not, the stuff that I have in my hand that is inkable I don't want to be inking, like a Sisu, a castle, a goat, etc. Here we see the Sisu coming out, putting up a lot of big pressure. The Cruella is not menacing for that in the slightest. But here we see the most canon play of all time. He brings out the Fang crossbow and utilizes its special effect where it can one-shot a dragon, fully carrying out the scene from the movie. And here we are talking about it, joking about the crossbow more. How that's like probably one of the only times that card has been effectively utilized. Here we go with the ever classic value play, Singing Friends with a Rabbit. I really need an answer for that Flavor Sham. Bring out a goat and a followers, bringing up that lore threshold and that pressure pretty high. We see a great value play by him, utilizing the ice block, so that way it's not a trade with Cruella into the rabbit. Looking at a pretty decent board on his side. Not anything you necessarily want to be prepared, but I can't use King Undisputed to take out any desirable target. I would really need a Brawl to be able to target the Flavor Sham. Going ahead and singing Get some more better options to the hand. Hopefully find something to ink. And I opt to trade the Chernobog for her because I don't want Cruella taking out Goat, preventing me from bouncing and getting other valuable trades, especially with everything else out on his board only having one attack. So essentially they would have to suicide into Goat to take it out. So I opt for that trade instead of the card draw to overall increase how much lore I'd gain. Obviously I could have lured for once that turn with Chernobog, but then she would be able to kill Goat and I would have no pressure on the Flavorsham. In addition, this keeps Goat safe to be able to quest at least 2 more times, even if he does sacrifice everything into it to take it off the board. You see I'm finally able to remove the Flavorsham and keep questing hard. Then ultimately decided to ink. Long deliberation from my opponent, probably thinking about how he's going to clear my board and develop his own. It's one of those things where it could potentially be worth sacrificing Sisu to trade out for Goat. Ultimately deciding to quest hard. And then play Be Prepared. This was one of those reasons I was deliberating so hard at the end of my last turn to ink or not. Because if he was able to do something like this, I need to be able to follow up with a double castle. This puts him in a pretty horrendous position. Score is 5-5, but threatening 4 lore a turn is huge. Also didn't have any Fortisphere in play, so I know I'm pretty safe from any big character coming out and rushing one down. So I know I'm going to get at least 6 lore between the next 2 turns if he's able to play multiple things out. He knows he's in a pretty hard position, so this takes a good while to decide. I'm totally fine with it. Keeping in mind these videos are accelerated by 40% speed to help give a little bit of a scale. Here we see he opts to ink the Maui instead of playing it to bring out his own win condition, knowing that if he were to play Maui, swing into one, more than likely than not, I'd probably have King Undisputed or Be Prepared or something to answer it, making it really moot of a point, making him decide to go dime to try to outrace me. Unfortunately, I did have a 3rd castle in hand, so now I'm threatening 7 lore gain when I'm already at 15. Oh, you know what? My sincerest apologies. I said 15 and I was off. It's going to be at 15. And here we know he doesn't have an answer to end the game, so he just sees how much lore he can gain. And decides to scoop. Some nice friendly banter. Really appreciated playing that out.